Welcome back, friends. Convicted Mindset. We're joined with a good friend of mine from Southern California, Danny Navarro. How are you, brother?
I'm doing amazing. How about yourself?
Man, living the dream like you.
I love it.
I love it. Hey, so here's the deal. Um, Felons can't be in real estate, right?
Correct. That's what they say. That's what they say.
That's what they told us, but
Yep.
you're crushing real estate, crushing it.
Yes.
Walk us through what you do on a daily basis. Give these guys and these gals inside some inspiration.
Yeah. So my name's Danny Navarro. I'm out of Orange County and Los Angeles, California. I've been doing real estate for about 7 years, and I got in the real estate business in 2015, and I started off as a traditional real estate agent, just working with traditional buyers and traditional sellers, which we still do to this day. But over the years, I started developing, I started investing, and I started creating passive income, creating wealth, building homes for, and giving people opportunity to live in an area where there's not too many homes, and it's been a blessing.
Huge blessing, right? So what what got you started on that path? Because as you know, as I know, I mean, we all sat in that concrete box and they all told us what we couldn't do, right? You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. What got you down that path that you said, not only is this a passion of mine, but I'm going to figure out a way that I can do it?
Well, first thing I always say is that, Travis, like, it has to start with me. I have to want to change. And I think it took me about 2.5 years to want to say that, hey, I'm tired of doing this time. And I have a long time still to go. And I want to do something different. I want to change my life. I want to be better. I want to come out different. So when I first personally made that decision that I wanted to change myself is when everything around me started changing. And I mean, and in prison, right? I mean, at first it started with just reading. It started with working out, exercising, sharpening up my mindset. And that's where it all started. About 2 years, 2.5 years into my sentence.
Man, I love to hear that change that comes from within, right? And I think that's what's unique about as you start to rewire yourself when you get out on the outside. And I'd love for you to talk about this because they hear it from me all the time. But I think that like our time incarcerated should be used as a superpower.
Yes, I 100% agree. To this day, I'm forever grateful for the time that I spent in prison. I don't regret a day in it because it made me in the person that I am today. If it wasn't for that sentence, if it wasn't for that lengthy time process of being away, I wouldn't be who I am today. Because if I would have just done a year, 2 years, I probably wouldn't have really never changed. But I mean, it also started with myself, and I wanted to have to make the change, and and that's, by me making the change, I was able to do the time, not to let the time do me.
Big time. I love that. Did you do any programming while you were inside?
So, like I said, I mean, I mean, programming 100%. I mean, there's no matter what. I mean, once you get in there, there's a program that you definitely have to follow.
Yeah.
Um, me being Hispanic, grew up in Los Angeles. I ran with the Mexican prison gangs, and that's everyone you go to prison, you have to run with somebody.
Yep.
And we have a very strict program in there.
Yep. I love that. I love that. So let's walk through now that people know what you're doing now and you've caught their attention. It wasn't always this easy. So let's rewind a little bit. Where did you grow up and what were the circumstances around your childhood?
As I started to understand, life more, I really started to realize the importance of environment. I didn't really understand, right? I didn't understand. I just didn't I don't know what I don't know, right?
Yeah.
And 37 today, so I still need a lot to learn and a lot to grow. But if I take you back, when it all started when my parents got divorced. I mean, when my actually not divorced, but my mom left my father because my dad was on drugs. And she was just tired of being around somebody that was an alcoholic and on drugs.
Mm.
She got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and she moved us not too far, but away from the house that we were living at. And then that's when I became a kid where just my mom worked all day, and I, went to school if I went to school, and I came home and, ate food out of a freezer, microwaved the food, and I was in the street to the nighttime. And that's, how it began. And that's how it was since I was 14, 15 years old. I mean, my parents, I moved at like sixth grade. So from sixth grade is where my life started to change and I started getting in trouble. And back then I didn't realize it, but it was just because I was a kid and, was struggling with my parents being separated, and I was trying to be a man and trying to fit in and trying to grow up and not having a father in my life. And, that all played a role. And from then on, it was disaster. Till I got incarcerated at 18. I was in the street all day, running around the streets, selling drugs, getting in trouble, doing drugs, partying, you name it. I mean, everything and everything.
Yeah. You any of those kids out there right now, and it's interesting, my dad was a heroin addict, and my mom kind of in that same similar boat as your mom, of just the constant relapse. When it was good, it was great. When it was bad, it was terrible, right?
Correct.
And so I just saw my mom go through that, and I don't know if she's ever really recovered from that. She's still single to this day. I'm not sure about yours, but when you're talking to these kids out there who's in a similar situation as you were, 14, 15, what's your message? What's your guidance for them as they're struggling right now?
Um, I get emotional still, because my life is truly a blessing, man. It's just I cannot. If you'd have told me like how would like this would have been my life when I got like coming out, or 18 years back and saying, hey, look at you're gonna go through the shit, but you're gonna get somewhere.
Mm,
It's just crazy. So I love connecting with these 14, 15-year-old kids because that was me. That was me. I was, and I go into the juvenile halls when I was able to go in the juvenile halls and speak to the kids and prior to COVID. But it's really hard because all I can do is share my experience with them.
yeah.
At 14, 15, I didn't want to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard because I when I talk to these kids, I share about number one, environment. I share about mindset. I share about environment, mindset, my thoughts, my thinking, and about who I hang around. But and then I also too about the importance of the mandatory minimums that the federal government gives, right? Like, and because I didn't know any better, I didn't know what a federal indictment was. I didn't know that I was going to get a mandatory minimum 120 months.
Mm,
So I like to just educate the kids and let them know what they're up against,
yeah.
because it's hard because a lot of the time, like, they don't want to listen. They're not maybe they're ready or maybe they're not ready. But if I can just change one of the kids' life, that's I'm happy with that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you this line. You can use it forever. It was taught to me by a guy named Rene Rodriguez. And he says, you're perfectly positioned to help the person that you once were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what your story does, bro. It unlocks the authenticity, because there's so many of these kids out there, whether their parents are incarcerated or not right now. We have this mental incarceration in society, I think, right? Kids are locked behind virtual reality BS or social media on the phone. There's a longing for connection and community, compassion, right? And so I think that when we tell our stories of success, it's exactly like you said. The reason we do it is to help that one person listening that just needs to take another step and last another day.
Correct. And also to give them hope that know that it is possible, because when I was at 14, 15, like, I knew I was going to go to prison. Like,
Wow.
I had to go to prison. That was just part of my environment. And then I share that with the kids to let them know that it is possible. You don't have to go down that route.
Because you hear that all the time. I bet maybe even you said it. I was either going to end up dead or in prison.
Yeah. And I knew it. I knew one of the two were going to come.
Man, walk us through that day. You went in as I mean, were you pre-18? Were you technically a juvenile or were you an adult?
So I was already adult. So I dodged the juvenile system of going to jail. I never went to juvenile hall. I always, at the time that I was always, got away, and I never got caught. And I used to laugh and say, see, all my other friends used to go to juvenile hall. But the day that I turned 18, my life literally changed. I got incarcerated. I got arrested once, like 16 days after my 18th birthday.
Hmm.
uh I was with my father in a car, and we got pulled over, and I had drugs on me. And they took me to jail. And I got charged for just possession. It wasn't a lot of meth. It was meth. And then I got out. I did like a day. I did like maybe I think I maybe did a day or two, because depending on when I got in there and when I went to court, and I got released. So now I was on probation. That was November of 2000. I don't remember the year, whenever I turned 18. And then a few months after that, I got arrested again for some car, just stuff with stolen cars. And I was fighting a county lit in the LA County Jail. And I was fighting 3 years. I ended up getting a county lit in LA County Jail. And I felt like that was the end of the world, because I had to do like 36 days
Oh,
in
wow.
LA County, you know, Central Jail, which was hell.
Yeah.
And it was just, in there, it's the worst of the worst. And I was a kid, and I remember I used to just count every day, count one day, just mark, and to a guy that was there. And and he's like, dude, take that off, right? He's like, take it off. I'm fighting life. Like, you know, and I
Oh,
was just like, so, it just really put things in perspective,
yeah.
right? And so it was a really hard 36 days. um, tough. And I went to I was in the gang module, I was in the medium north, all these places, and that they shot me around in 36 days, and it just felt like the end of the world.
Yeah.
And one thing, Travis, is that I made a promise, right? I made a promise to God that if He let me out, I promise you I'll do good. I promise you I won't get into trouble. And I never forget that day, because I was making a promise that I didn't commit.
Mm.
And I got out. I was supposed to do a few months, and I got out right away. They called me and roll up your bunk, and it's time to go. And then I hit the streets. I'm 18. I feel like I did a little jail time, and not even a week, I'm back at it again.
Wow.
And didn't learn. I just didn't know any better. But that whole time, prior even to I was, prior to me turning 18, there was already a federal indictment going on that I just didn't. I kind of went to jail, came out, and there was still this federal indictment. So when I came back out, the guys that I was, working with, that were involved in selling drugs, they were already being watched already. So I was out a few months again, and I go back to the same people, go back to the same environment, go back to the same house. Thought I'm a little bit better and at doing stuff, and then before you know it, October 2004, I picked up the federal indictment. I got raided. My mom's house got raided. And that day was you know uh it was the worst. I mean, to this day, my niece, I don't know, she still suffers from it. But she when they came into the house, they obviously had AK-47s, and they put everyone down, and they raided the house, and there's 20, 30 cars outside. And the ATF and the DEA came in, and I'm like, what the heck, the DEA, like, this is like big stuff, like, like, what the heck, right? And and they after they get the situation, everyone's screaming, everyone's yelling, and I never forget this. It's just my mom saying, "You got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy. You're looking for his dad." And they said, "No, no, no. We got Junior. We got Junior." Um, and even to this day, like back then, even growing up from 14, and that's something I do stress with the kids, is that like, you don't really realize how severe the crime that we do, and how like much time it really carries to your arrest, and you're like, shit, and all the other stuff that you did, and you realize how much time you could have got for all the other stuff. And you don't know, like, you don't know, you don't know any better. And I didn't know I was facing 100 and 15 years, and I was looking at a mandatory minimum of 120 months. And once they got me cuffed and handcuffed, the DEA said, "You're going to do 15 years." And I laughed at them, said, "No, I'm not. Like, I'll probably do maybe 2 years now, right? Like, I got a year, got out in 30 days. Okay, 2 years. Okay, it's maybe 3 years. Wow." And he goes, "No, this is serious. This is very serious." Um, and I got charged with conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine,
Wow.
which I didn't even understand. I didn't even know what conspiracy was.
Wow.
I didn't know anything. Conspiracy, what is that?
Right.
Like,
Big words.
big words.
Wow. What was your mom's reaction like as you were going through, as you got arrested that day and as you were going through the process? What was her support or her words, her life?
I broke her heart.
Yeah.
I broke her heart. I broke her heart. She lost her son.
Hmm.
She lost her son. My brothers lost their brother. I mean, my sister lost her brother. I was gone for a long time.
Yeah. Long time.
And, it was easy for me to do the time. Honestly, it wasn't hard.
Right.
Looking back, it wasn't hard. Going through the day to day was hard, but I was young. I was able to do the time that, it was easier. I'm not like glamorizing doing the time,
Yeah.
but I lost a lot of years.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of time. My brothers were kids. It's just a lot changed. And that I broke her heart, and it just really hurt because I mean, as a mom, I have a 2-year-old now, and no one wants
Mhm.
to see your kids go to jail.
No.
Nobody. Nobody. No one wants to see. I don't wish my anybody.
Agreed. During that 120 months, did they transfer you to several institutions? What was your time like?
Um, so I did the first year and a half in LA, Los Angeles Metro Detention Center. Um, and I was, obviously when you get sentenced, I mean, when you go in, it takes a while to see the judge, and it takes 2 weeks to them to tell you to read you their name and say, "Hey, this is what you're getting charged for." Then you go back, right? Then you go back, and then your court's maybe 3 months out again. And that's the way I did that year and a half, before I got sentenced. And so it was now I still didn't understand. I was having hope that I was going to be do less time, but in the back of my head, I knew that I was going to get sentenced to a really long time. Um, so I had to grow up in prison. I mean, like my cellies at the time were 50, 60 years old,
Hmm.
and I was a fresh kid, 18, that you don't want to poop in another guy, like a guy's in the restroom with you. Like, it's just like, you're like, as a kid, I didn't like, and I had to grow up really, really, really fast
Yeah.
that first 18 months.
A lot of new rules.
Correct.
Man, had to be a culture shock for sure.
So that was, and then from there, I was transferred over to Victorville, but for a holding facility till I was able to go to Lompoc. Um, and at that time, you still don't know where you're going. Like, you don't know if you're going to go to Midwest, back east. You hear all the stories. You hear all these stories and you don't really know like how things are really going to be, and it's just, and then from there, I stood there for a few months till I was able to finally get to Lompoc. And then from Lompoc, they messed up on my points, and I stood in the hole for almost, I don't know, close to 8 months. I don't remember, it was a while. And then I got released to the low.
Wow. 8 months in the hole. That's never a good time.
Exactly. 100%.
Good gracious. Is your mom still around?
Yes. Yes. My mom's still around.
How's your relationship nowadays?
The relationship, it's always been great. My mom was the number one supporter, for me through the terms of my prison sentence. But the relationship has definitely improved and gotten better. And even I would even say more with me having a daughter and understanding being a parent. Because I think when I had my daughter, I learned to appreciate my parents a lot more. And it's been amazing. And not only that, but to be able to succeed out here, and for my mom to be happy, and to my mom to see what I'm doing,
Yeah.
and and just to see the joy on her face from seeing me what I went through.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful, man. And now on a daily basis, you're heavily focused in real estate,
Correct.
buying,
Uh,
selling, renting, flipping, what or all
yeah,
of
a little bit of everything, but I kind of want to like go back a little bit.
yeah, please.
And the person that I am today started 16 years ago. It took me 2.5 years, like I said, to really say, hey, I'm gonna change my life. And I really want to like really touch on this, is that I decided to make a change in my life when I picked up this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Ah, yeah.
And that was 2.5 years into the sentence, and I read this book, and I was so hungry to learn, and learn about personal growth, self-development, and I just took it all in. And then from there, I picked up another book, Zig Ziglar, Tony Robbins. So I was reading constantly, throughout the sentence, and I started learning about mindset. I started learning about my thoughts. And so like every day was my program was discipline, schedule, and I had to get better every day. Like every day I had to get better. I had to read more books. I had to exercise harder. I had to just get physically, mentally sharp so I can come out here and be the best version of myself. And so that was a journey, but it started with me. And because I could have just chosen to just say, you know what, I'm going to do the time. I'm going to read. I'm going to be at the TV. I'm going to watch the games. I'm going to sit around. I'm going to watch the movies every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? It's literally like a disaster, right? Watching these movies all day. I was always reading, always trying to be hungry. And I just wanted a second chance at life. That's all I wanted. Just give me a second chance to be able to be a normal human being out in the real world.
Man.
Forklift driver, I don't even care. Like, I just wanted to be a normal person. I wanted to have bills. I wanted to have expenses. I wanted to just be normal, not sell drugs, not do anything. And so that started in there. Like that person I was building, I was creating, helped me out here, because I went in a kid, I came out an adult. I was 26 years old, 20 going on 27. I didn't know how to do anything. No emails, no texting. No, I didn't know how to do anything. So it was a struggle to get to where I am today. But it all started with the mindset that I didn't know what a mindset was back in the day. It started with my ego, how to control my ego, how to control my thoughts, my affirmations, telling this shit over and over and over, and just visualizing and being a hard worker really helped me to where I'm at, because like, I didn't really know all that. And so like I had to build this person, this mindset had to get built, the belief in myself to be able to come out here and sell real estate, be able to develop, be able to do stuff that people have been out here their whole life and they're not even doing.
It's
And
incredible.
it's amazing.
It's incredible, man.
But also, right, environment. So now I put so much energy, so much effort into being the best criminal, being the best drug dealer, being the best, glamorizing this stuff that was all I don't even know. Like who would want to have to hide from the police and try to make illegal money, like, and try to do it? Just doesn't make any sense, right? And it's just crazy. Like, it's crazy. So I had my mentors, I had my role models. So now I'm like, well, I just got to flip it. Now I just got to find the people that are doing what I now want to do: real estate, business, fitness. It was the same energy, just different group, different environment of people. And it took me years to get comfortable around successful people, to get comfortable, or to have the mentors and role models and coaches that I have today. It took me a while, because I was growing. I felt self-worth. I would make money, didn't have any money because I still didn't feel like I deserved all this.
Mm.
And honestly, like, I barely am getting public with this. I really was sort of ashamed of my past.
Wow.
But now, Travis, it's not about me. And I know that, but there's a bigger conviction to know it's not about me.
Yeah.
This is about serving, being the lighthouse, this going, hitting the prisons and giving somebody hope that when they get out of here, there's a chance to do something with their life. And maybe you're not in prison, but maybe you're stuck out here in your head, you're in prison.
Yeah.
And I just want to be the lighthouse. I just want to serve. I just want to give. And I just want to be a contribution to the world, man. And if I had to go through this 10 years, 8+ years of prison, 10 years of being out, this 20-year journey that has been on, it was all worth it, because I'm the testimony to show that this shit is all possible. You can do it. I'm no different than anyone else. I still suck at spelling. I still suck at reading.
Man, there's a interesting quote. It says, when you hide your story, you hide God's glory.
It was ego. I was with ego, to be honest. I didn't no. And I was doing a disservice to people out in helping and not sharing God's blessing.
Yeah. Do people question you? Do they always say, man, Danny, how do you have this work ethic? Or how do you stay in on fire every day? Do you ever get those type of questions from people?
Every day. And honestly, I don't know how I do it myself, but you know what? I just do it, and I get grounded. And I always, even in prison, I just didn't know what I was doing. I would really ask, like, what do I appreciate for? Like, what am I grateful for? Well, you know what? I'm healthy. I'll be 26, 27. I'll be healthy. I'm going to have a good mindset. I got my body. I'm young. So I was always doing that in there. I just didn't know what it was. And out here, I always get grounded of where I came from, and I appreciate it. And that gives me the energy, the power to just move and do everything that I get to do every single day.
Yeah. I love that. And speaking about that, what do you do on a daily basis?
So I have been 100% committed to shedding some weight. So I've been consistent doing my workout, and I made it a goal to do 100 burpees a day for 100 days, right? I used to do 500 in there. And what's interesting, because I didn't realize it, is that when I work out and when I get in a state of flow and I get into this like high vibration, is after the workout.
Ah,
So I want to chase this feeling. And I did it in prison, right? Because I would do all these burpees and I would be able to like, it would be like, I would not have any anger. I would not have any like stress. I was too tired.
yeah.
And so I do that now, right? And I start every day. I'm up 3:30 to 5, depending on the schedule, and I work out. But prior to working out, I'm always meditating. I'm always praying. One of my coaches, I got this from him, is that I have a prayer list. So I have a prayer list of all the stuff I'm praying for other people. And sometimes it's a minute, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. And I'm just praying and I'm meditating and I'm just getting in that state and just being thankful. Look at my family, look at my wife, look at the baby, they're asleep. And I like to be by myself in the morning. I need that time by myself. I need it. I need to get up. I need to be by myself. And then I read sometimes, or sometimes I just go straight into the workout. I always write in my journal every day of what do I appreciate for, what I'm grateful for, what's my intention for the day. And the intention is maybe for the day, maybe for 5 years out, but it's the be, do, have mindset.
Mm,
Who do I want to be? Who do I need to be today for this person that I, admire to be in 5, 10 years? And then I go through a list of my goals, but I always share my goals with as if they already happened. So thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus, for giving me this in advance or something better, because sometimes what I want is not always what God wants,
yeah.
or not God. I mean, it's not always what is, really what I need, it's just, and then from there, I go to work and I work all day. I prospect. I'm constantly on the phones, prospecting for sellers, prospecting for buyers. And it's a very disciplined schedule. Lunch, and then in the afternoon, depending on the day, it's appointments with clients, investors, going out, looking at projects. Like, it's the days like you never know what you're going to get in real estate. And it's so amazing because I love real estate. I love being able to help families buy their first home, help sellers sell their house, build a big, beautiful real estate portfolio that my daughter and, generations to come are going to be able to benefit from this. And to be able to be on this journey, to be able to do this because I want to, not because I have to.
I love that.
And it's amazing. And that's what my day looks like. And, I come home, I try to be home 5, 6 to spend time with my daughter, spend time with my wife. And then from there, I'm playing dolls. I come home and I play dolls, and she's in the stage where that. So it's an amazing life. But I'm constantly, like, everything that I'm doing, I'm like doing like a segment intention to get my energy into this next step of the day. Just like when I came on this call, like setting the intention, bringing the energy, and that's what I do throughout the day. So when I get home, I'm tired and beat, but no, I have to, create this. I want to play with her, and I want to make sure that the energy, not that I'm tired, I don't want to play, let me eat, let me go to sleep. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah. When dad comes home, he sets the tone.
Yes.
I love that. Do me a favor. Let's tell these folks, lastly, go through that be, do, have, because I know what it is, but I'm not sure a lot of people are familiar with that concept. So are you okay kind of unpacking that?
Yeah. So the way I look at it, so I, for, about 2 years prior to doing my first investment, I used to play it in my head over and over and over and over because I was making all these developers and investors a lot of money. And I'm like, I want to make some of this money. Like, I want to do what they're doing. Like, I'm doing all the work. I'm finding the deal for them. I'm doing all this. So I'm like, okay, we're going to do our first project. So I started writing it down in a journal. I started visualizing how in my head, and if we can visualize it and see it in our head, it will manifest. It will come to reality. It has to.
Has
It
to.
just it just has to. So what did that look like? Well, at the time, right? I was driving my Bentley with a beautiful lady. Didn't know that was my wife now. From Orange County to Boyle Heights, pull up to the project, look at the construction, get off the car, talk to the workers, go from project to project, talk to the workers, get back in the car, drive, lunch, back to Orange County, and I did that every day. It was a disciplined mindset exercise that I did. And some days were tiring, some days were motivating, some days was hard, but I would play it over and over and over and over. Well, fast forward, 2016 is when I started that. 2018-ish, I got my first development investment property. And it happened exactly how I played it in my head. I didn't have the Bentley, but I had the Tesla that felt like the Bentley. That
Yeah.
was probably better than the Bentley because I don't even want a Bentley no more, right?
Yep.
And then my wife and when I got there and I pulled the Tesla in there, I'm like, oh my
Yep.
God, this happened.
Yep.
I was blown away. I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, it happened. And then coincidentally, like, I have projects like from street to street, like, and it happened exactly like that. And the same way I got my real estate license is exactly how I visualize it in my head, right? The same way that I didn't visualize it, but I wrote down exactly what I wanted in a perfect partner. Wrote down everything, everything. And then I would date someone. Oh, I don't want that. Let me take that off. Go through it again. And literally 2.5 years, my wife showed up exactly. And I showed her that. She started crying. She's like, when did you write this? You just wrote this. I said, no, look at the date. I wrote it 2.5 years ago. She started
Wow.
crying. So that is what I visualize, right? But every single day. And the best time to do this is when you're completely broke, life sucks, debt collectors after you, you're getting calls and like pay your debt, lights are turned off. This is the power of when you have to do it. And so when I was not doing well financially, and actually not even financially in all areas of my life, because
Right.
how we do one thing is how we do everything. So you remember, I got out at 26, 27. I went through a lot of shit to get to where I'm at today. I was at the clubs. I was hanging out with the drug leaders. I just wasn't selling drugs. I was drinking. I was doing this. I was doing that. So at some point, I had to stop doing all this stuff so how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if I wanted to be a successful business person, a successful real estate agent, I had to be this person. So I had to cut my friends, cut the drinking, cut the sleeping with, multiple women. I had to change as a person.
Yeah.
And so when I was not doing well, I would be in my head this successful real estate agent, and I would operate. Well, how does this person operate? Well, I'm eating healthy, I'm exercising, and I would play this imaginary life in my head. And that was the be in the be do have for me, right? So if I started being this person, and there's no better way is to learn to be this person when you don't have any of that stuff.
Right.
And so I would be this person, and then I started doing the stuff that the person I admired to be. And then before you know it, I started to have everything that I was being.
Mm,
And that's the be, do, have for me.
yeah.
But so many people, they go to college. I got to get this good job. I got to go to school for 10 years. I got to get the perfect business cards. I have to have the perfect website.
Right.
So, the people that are analytical are even worse. So they have to they live in this have mindset.
Yes.
And they live it backwards. They live the have, do, be.
Right. Man, I love it. Your story is inspiring, brother. I appreciate it. Tell the folks out there that are interested in connecting with you, that resonated with this, that are interested in linking up for real estate or investment advice. How does everybody find you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, if you're a convict, you're looking to get into real estate, definitely I want to help people get into real estate that were incarcerated. So number one best way to get a hold of me is through my Instagram handle, which is Danny Navarro. And then also my email is DANNY N as in Nancy team at Gmail. And that's the best way to get a hold of me. And just lastly, just want to let everyone know that anything is possible in your life. You really can change if you start to make the change in your head, and it's all doable.
Man, I appreciate it. This is our hour flew by. I'm so grateful. I'm blessed and I'm inspired. So I look forward to seeing what we do next.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, brother. Enjoy your day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.